Hi, good morning. My name is Dr. Ahmad, and today we are going to talk about the autonomic nervous system. It is going to be a simple overview to see how the autonomic system works. So, without further ado, let's go. So, autonomic nervous system, in this presentation, you will learn about the two major components of the autonomic nervous system. One is the sympathetic nervous system, the second one is the parasympathetic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system. So both systems have a conflicting functions to each other. Sympathetic nervous system, it increases or enhances the function of the target organ. And the parasympathetic nervous system, it tends to decrease the function or activity of the target organ. So for example, if a rest is needed for a certain organ, then the parasympathetic nervous system will send out the signal and that tissue or organ is going to rest. That's one of the examples. So next question is, what is the basic layout or the blueprint of the autonomic nervous system? So how do the nerves in the autonomic nervous system, how do they communicate with each other? So if we look in the microscopic level, then autonomic nervous system is roughly formed with two nerves communicating with each other. So they communicate in a ganglia, and once the signal reaches, they carry out their functions accordingly. So one of the main components is basically the ganglia. So the preganglionic nerve fibers, that is like the nerve fiber that originate before the ganglion itself, will originate in the central nervous system. Now most of the time it is either in the brainstem or the spinal cord. So that means that the cell body of the preganglionic nerve fiber will be in the central nervous system. So here is the basic layout of the autonomic nervous system. So you see that there is a central nervous system, and you see that there is a nerve fiber that will extend outwards through the body and will run to the ganglia. Now remember that the cell body of the preganglionic nerve fiber is going to reside in the central nervous system. The nerve the nerve fiber or the axon is going to extend outwards through the body and will run to the ganglia. Here it will synapse with the postganglionic nerve fiber. So in the ganglia, basically the cell body of the post means after the ganglia. So the cell body of the postganglionic nerve fiber is going to be in the ganglia. From here, the axon or the nerve fiber will extend out and will innervate the target organs. So what is the size difference for the preganglionic nerve fiber and the postganglionic nerve fiber? You look at the diagram below. So sympathetic nervous system, and you also see the nerve fibers for the parasympathetic nervous system. So the preganglionic nerve fiber in the sympathetic nervous system are going to be short, while the preganglionic nerve fiber in the parasympathetic nervous system is going to be long. How about the postganglionic nerve fiber? So in the sympathetic nervous system, the postganglionic nerve fiber is going to be long, while the parasympathetic nervous system, the postganglionic nerve fiber is going to be short. So how do you remember this? So one way to remember is according to the location of the ganglia. So in parasympathetic nervous system, the ganglia are mostly embedded very near to the target tissue, while the sympathetic nervous system, it tends to be very close to the spinal cord or the central nervous system. Now, we are going to go into deeper details when we're gonna land upon the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system in details. So how do they communicate? So as of now, we have seen the structural communication between nerves in both sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, but on the microscopic or the physiological level, how do they communicate with each other? So the functions are carried out through the array of neurotransmitters and receptors. So once again, here is the basic layout. So you see the central nervous system and the ganglia. So signal is going to generate in the central nervous system, and it will be carried through the nerve fiber of the preganglionic nerve fiber. And once at the synapse level, where the preganglionic nerve fiber is going to synapse or communicate with the postganglionic nerve fiber, it will release acetylcholine in the ganglia, which will be picked up by the nicotinic receptor. So remember this. The neurotransmitter or the chemical that is released from the preganglionic nerve is going to be acetylcholine, while in the ganglia for the postganglionic nerve fiber, it will be picked up by the nicotinic receptor. And that is the case with both sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fiber. So once the signal reaches and it is activated, the nicotinic receptors will be activated by the acetylcholine. The signal will then go down in the postganglionic nerve fiber. Now, the signal has transmitted from the preganglionic nerve fiber. It has now been in the postganglionic nerve fiber, and now the signal is going down that nerve fiber. So when the signal reaches the target organs or the target cells or both sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fiber, now the basic difference is going to come, because there's a different set of neurotransmitters that are going to be released. So let's start with the parasympathetic nervous system. So look at this diagram right here. So right now you're looking at a ganglia. So imagine this, that the signal has come from central nervous system into the ganglia, and now it is carried into the postganglionic nerve fiber. So once the postganglionic nerve fiber is activated for the parasympathetic nervous system, and once the signal reaches at the end of that nerve fiber, the neurotransmitter that is going to be released is the acetylcholine. The target cells, which are innervated by the parasympathetic nervous system, have the muscarinic receptors. Imagine, in ganglia, the acetylcholine is picked up by the nicotinic receptors, but in the target cells, the nerve fibers is going to release again acetylcholine, but the target organs is going to have muscarinic receptor, which will pick it up, and then those cells get activated and the functions are going to be carried out. So now how does this system is going to work for the sympathetic nervous system? So there is two different sets of neurotransmitter that are released for the postganglionic nerve fiber. So, and once again, now the sympathetic nervous system is activated. So in the ganglia, the signal has come from central nervous system in the sympathetic preganglionic nerve fiber. It has reached to the ganglia. Now the sympathetic postganglionic nerve fiber is activated. So there's two types of neurotransmitters that are going to be released. The major or the bigger portion of the neurotransmitters that are released is basically norepinephrine. So at the end of the postganglionic nerve fiber, the neurotransmitters that's going to be released is the norepinephrine, which is going to be picked up by the target cells, either adrenergic. For the adrenergic receptors, either is going to be alpha or beta, or the combinations of both. Or if the acetylcholine, which is the smaller portion, is going to be picked up by, again, muscarinic receptors in the target cells.